Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Swannanoa Valley here in Black Mountain, North Carolina, where we are coming to you from our virtual online service. My name is Robert Tynes and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees, and this is my grandson, Cy. Can you say hi? Look at Robert. Today is Sunday, October 25th, and we're still in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, and we thank you for joining us and hope that you're staying well and safe. And let me just say that everyone is welcome here. As a reminder, our services start now on Facebook as well as YouTube at 10:45 on Sundays, and they can also be accessed at any time, so throughout the week. So you can find the link either on the Facebook page or in the current newsletter, which you should be receiving. And if you're not, please let us know. We have another wonderful service planned for you again this morning. Michael Carter will be speaking about sowing seeds. And finally, don't forget to join us for the Zoom coffee hour at approximately 11:30 or immediately after the service this morning. You can follow the link for that Zoom meeting for the coffee hour in the current newsletter. And let me just also make a plea for those of you that we haven't seen from the congregation for quite a while at the Zoom coffee hour. We'd love to see your face, and we'd love to reconnect, and it's a lot of fun. I wasn't going to the Zoom coffee hours for a while, and then I've gotten into it, and it's really great to see people and stay connected. So I urge you to please do that. And as we like to say, we need not think alike to love alike. And now let the service begin. Cy, can you ring the bell? Ring it. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Susan Enright Hicks, and I am your Director of Religious Education. It's my pleasure to welcome you as a community this morning with the following words by Henry David Thoreau. Though I do not believe that a plant will spring up where no seed has been, I have great faith in a seed. Convince me that you have a seed there, and I am prepared to expect wonders.
Please join us in singing our opening hymn this morning, hymn number 42, Morning So Fair to See, hymn number 42. Our reading this morning is once again in the back of the great hymnal. It is it is reading number 726. It's called Food for the Spirit. I was hungry and you gave me food, and I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me, and I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Here is the bread of life, food for the spirit. Let all who hunger come and eat. Here is the fruit of the vine, pressed and poured out for us. Let all who thirst now come and drink. Because we come to break bread, we come to drink of the vine, the fruit of the vine, and we come most of all to make peace. May we never praise God with our mouths while denying in our hearts or by our acts the love that is our common speech. I come to be restored in the love of God. I come to be made new as an instrument of that love. I know that I'm worthy. I know that I'm welcome, because all are worthy and all are welcome. Come into the embrace and remembrance of this communion. Okay, now we have a wonderful selection from our choir this morning entitled Good Friend.
Oh, the wind, it is a song that harbors through the winter. Oh, the sail, it is a door that bids the song to enter. And let us sail the sea, good friend, and let us sing together. While the song it lasts forever. Oh, the wind, it is a song that harbors through the winter. Oh, the sail, it is a song that bids the song to the winter. And let us sail the sea, and let us sing together. And let us sail the seas of love, while the song is loud forever.
the time in our service where we invite you, if you are willing, to share a joy, a concern, a sorrow. This is how in these times we maintain at least our sense of community when we're not physically together. And also it lets us know what's going on in your life. And if you need us, we can reach out to you. So now, the floor is yours.
Hello, friends at the UU Church of Black Mountain. We want to thank you as a family here at the top of Mount Mitchell on Thursday morning. By the time you see this Sunday morning, Finley will have fully transitioned to his new family with Hope and Adam, his parents, and Nathaniel, his 3-year-old brother. Thank you for all your support, especially those of you in the religious education group that helped us so much. And special thanks also to Cora Blozan for being our reliable babysitter. Thanks to everyone, and keep Finley in your thoughts as his new family begins. Goodbye.
For those of you who have decided for whatever reason that you didn't want to voice a joy or concern, just know that we keep you in our hearts and in our minds and in our thoughts and in our prayers. And we are here if and when you need us.
Please center yourself for our meditation. This morning's meditation is a poem called Wage Peace by Judith Hill. Wage peace with your breath. Breathe in, firefighters and rubble. Breathe out, whole buildings and flocks of red-winged blackbirds. Breathe in, terrorists, and breathe out, sleeping children and freshly mown fields. Breathe in confusion and breathe out maple trees. Breathe in the fallen and breathe out lifelong friendships intact. Wage peace with your listening, hearing sirens, pray loud. Remember your tools, flower seeds, clothespins, clean rivers. Make soup, play music, memorize the words for thank you in 3 languages. Learn to knit and make a hat. Think of chaos as dancing raspberries. Imagine grief as the outbreath of beauty, or the gesture of a fish. Swim for the other side. Wage peace. Never has the world seemed so fresh and precious. Have a cup of tea and rejoice. Act as if armistice has already arrived. Celebrate today.
We know these are challenging times, and yet again, we know that we have to survive as a community. And so with that in mind, I thank you ahead of time for your generous offering. The greatest use of life is to spend it on something that will outlast it. And so in that spirit, we will now collect this morning's offering. We have another treat, another selection from our choir. It's an old classic. I'm sure you will want to sing along. It's called What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just to be loved. What the world It's the only thing that there's just to live up what the world needs now is love, sweet love, not just for some, but for
Sowing seeds during this challenging and troubled time. The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 9 says, remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each person should give what he or she has decided in his or her heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion. Hold on. Can you hear me? Evan? All right, I just wanted to make sure because I didn't have the mic on. Yeah, we usually have the mic. Okay, so we'll move on from that. I'll do it again. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 6 through 8 says, remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whosoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each person should give what he or she has decided in his or her heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion. One of the laws of our universe is that we reap what we sow. It's not personal. It is just how the universe works. And so it's part of the natural law of things. Some people call it karma. Some call it cause and effect. Even our national security agencies call it blowback. It's just good to know that most of us can agree on one thing, that what we put out comes back to us. If this is true, then the question becomes for each and every one of us, individually and collectively, what kind of world are we creating? What kind of seeds are we sowing? If we want, for instance, to attain a new world where our UU7 principles are lived out each and every day in some way, shape, or form, what are we doing to create, to plant those seeds? In the New Testament, there's a story entitled The Parable of the Sower, and it can be found in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, and in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 4. The story goes like this. It basically tells about a man who sows seeds in various types of soil, and depending on where the seed is buried, that's what kind of seed will grow. No problem. If the seed is buried in rocky soil or soil where thorns are most likely to be found, nothing good will come of it. Now, in this particular parable, the soil can also represent other people in whom the sower, and in this case, you and I are the sowers, the people that we come in contact with. Perhaps we are trying to persuade others about the good news of Unitarian Universalism, the gospel of Unitarian Universalism, if you will. Perhaps we're trying to share our progressive politics or something that we value. We want to share that with others. That's only natural. If the seeds we attempt to plant fall on deaf ears or rocky or thorny soil, the effort is lost and our seeds will not grow. The soil can also represent two different worlds. the two levels of perception, the spiritual world and the material world. Now, many who may hear our thoughts and ideas may not be on the same wavelength, and we can't control that. They may not be on the same wavelength. We may not be on their wavelength. They may not be on the same frequency or the same vibration or have the same perspective about how life should work as we do. The mind is the soil, and the seeds are philosophical ideas or principles. We are to be receptive to the truth by perceiving with both our spiritual, our inner senses, as well as our physical senses. The kingdom or queendom of heaven, call it what you will, or the beloved community, is physical as well as having a non-physical form. The physical manifestation will be what? It will be justice and equity. The spiritual manifestation is the cultivation of an evolved, cultivated, excavated inner life among its citizens, and most importantly, the will to love, the strength to love. The inner life also includes our thoughts and our ideas. So why is thought compared to seeds? Because thoughts are things. Because thoughts evolve within various stages of growth or realization in mentality. I'm not the same person I was maybe even a week ago, but certainly not a year ago. I've changed some things about the way I think and the way I perceive the world. And so I'm constantly evolving and growing. The soil, the human mind, must be fertile enough to accept new ideas, challenging ideas, uncomfortable ideas, new ways of thinking and being in order to transform, to evolve, and to envision a new and better world. So what kinds of seeds are you sowing? What do you want to reap? There's another story about the importance of seeds that I want to share with you this morning. The late, great African-American science fiction author, Octavia Butler, was a completely unique voice in the world of science fiction. A multiple award winner and a recipient of the MacArthur Genius Grant, Butler was an African-American woman writing in a genre too often dominated by men. She died very young. She took a fall, hit her head, and she died much too young. Her novels blend African-American spiritualism and deep insights about gender and race and the future of human civilization. One of her books, which I was required to read in my systematic theology class at Union, was called The Parable of the Sower. It's among her best books. It's the first in a two-part series. The second one is called The Parable of the Talents. Sower is in many ways a post-apocalyptic novel, but unlike other books in the genre, it portrays a world torn apart, not by one singular thing, not by a pandemic or nuclear war, but by a bunch of little things converging at once. In Butler's not too distant future, the gap between the rich and the poor continues to grow. Climate change has led to widespread drought. The cost of food and water and fuel is skyrocketing. People are getting desperate. Corporations have gained more power, owning at sometimes entire towns and keeping their workers in effective slavery. Does any of this sound familiar? The future that Butler posits is terrifying simply because it's so plausible and it's happening right now. Into this bleak landscape, Butler inserts a protagonist. She's my daughter's age, a year older. This girl is 15 years old. Her name is Lauren Alamina. She is the African-American daughter of a Baptist minister. Lauren lives in a small gated community just right outside of Los Angeles. Beyond the walls are the homeless, gangs of marauding people roving the streets looking for people to torture and kill, drug addicts who were driven to start fires by an advanced drug called Prio, and hordes of scavengers searching for anything to keep them alive. Now, in the midst of all this, Lauren possesses a power called hyper-empathy. For all you empaths out there, you can probably relate to this. The ability to feel the pain and pleasure of others. It is implied that Lauren got her hyper-empathy from her mother, who was addicted to powerful mind-altering drugs while pregnant. And as a result, Lauren seems to regard her ability as a kind of curse, as a sickness, a weakness rather than a strength. Her father encourages this line of thought. He asks Lauren to keep this power, if you will, a secret. In a world of such widespread suffering, the ability to feel the pain of others is potentially debilitating. If Lauren sees someone who's sick, if she sees someone hurt or dying, she will feel their pain. She will share their pain and become unable to defend herself. But debilitating as it may sometimes be, this hyper-empathy makes her special. In a world torn apart by many people's inability to empathize with others, she's consumed by her openness to the world around her. And this takes courage. This is perhaps Lauren's defining trait. Surrounded by people who refuse even to contemplate the truth, even to see the truth, she alone is open enough and perceptive enough to see the dark reality of what the world has become. Even so, her openness also enables her to imagine a better future, at least a more hopeful future, a way for the human race to move forward. The hopeful future that Lauren dreams up is called Earth Seed, a comprehensive worldview that must surely rank among the best fictional religions ever to emerge from science fiction. Now, I say she dreams up Earthseed, but she, in the book, says that Earthseed isn't an invention, it's a discovery. Stumbling across the truth isn't the same as making things up, she says. I've also referred to Earthseed as a religion, which is a term the book uses to describe the belief system. But it's like no religion that we've ever encountered. For one thing, Earthseed makes no reference to the supernatural. Its God is not a divine being. Earthseed's God is change. It takes a while for this belief system to come into focus in the book. We get Lauren's philosophy piecemeal throughout the novel in poetic extracts from her Earthseed, the books of the living, at the beginning of each chapter. Here are a few things she says. God is neither good nor evil, neither loving nor hating. God is power. God is change. We don't worship God. We perceive and attend God. With forethought and work, we even shape God. God is power, infinite, irresistible, inexorable, indifferent. Yet God is pliable. God is the trickster, teacher, chaos, even clay. God exists to be shaped. God is change. These aphorisms or koans are difficult to grasp at first. Trying to get a clear picture of Earthseed is a bit like the old proverb about a blind man trying to describe an elephant by touch. Is Earthseed a form of pantheism? Finding God in the unending flux, adaptation, and evolution of the universe? Or is it an extrapolation from Alfred North Whitehead's process theology, in which God, whatever or however you conceive that, is constantly in the process of becoming, just like we are? So what does it all even mean? Luckily, the parable of the sower is not a religious or philosophical text. It's a story, and as the story advances, Laura's ideas and the relevance of this new religion becomes clear. The crisis point in the novel comes when a violent gang comes along and overruns their community, killing many of those she loves, her entire family, and most of her neighbors. She barely escapes with her life, and she goes off on her own in a post-apocalyptic California with nothing but a gun with a few bullets and a few supplies. But gradually, in a process that mirrors Jesus choosing and gathering his disciples, she meets people. She starts getting travel companions, people who will help her survive and are new potentials for this new religion. And it's as if this ragged bunch of survivors struggle to stay alive, and the true meaning of Earth's seed makes itself known. Change truly is their God, and it's the most powerful force in their lives. Change can be cruel and indifferent, threatening them with hunger and thirst and exhaustion and injury, and maybe even killed from the band of lunatics roaming the California countryside. But change can also be a partner. I think we need to hear this for the times that we live in today, because we don't know if normal will ever come back, and maybe it shouldn't. But if we are adaptable enough to shape God, to shape the forces of change that would otherwise destroy us, we can make headway. As in pre-modern times, their religion is more than a belief system. It's a survival system, a way of being in a world that will keep them together and, most importantly, help keep them alive. Earthseed, though, is more than just a survival system. One of its central commands is this, and we need to hear it. Embrace diversity, or be divided, robbed, ruled, killed by those who see you as merely prey. Embrace diversity or be destroyed. Lauren and her community of survivors embody this command. Lauren is African American and her companions are white, Asian, Latinx, and biracial. Butler herself, the author, was an African American woman writing in a genre dominated by white men. And though the book isn't explicitly about race or gender, these issues form a powerful subtext to this story of religion and societal collapse. It's a powerful fictional philosophy, and one of the things that makes it so vital in the context of the novel is its indictment of the gods of the dominant culture, the gods of money, the gods of violence and rapacious exploitation of our environment and money. These gods have made a mess of things, so it's time for others to have a hand at making a new future. So for all of the bleakness, if this sounds bleak to you, it does end on a hopeful note. The problems facing humanity are serious, but Butler seems to suggest that we can overcome them if we are adaptable, if we embrace diversity, and if we are careful students of the change happening all around us, and if we plant our seeds of change and vision. If we plant our seeds of love. The mystic Julian of Norwich, holding an acorn in her hand in the 14th century, said that in this is all of this. In every seed lies the components of all life the world has ever known until now. In every seed is the gift of life to those seeking life, wanting life, and even those who are being denied life. Yet there's always hope. Martin Luther said that even if he knew that the world would end tomorrow, he would still plant an apple tree today. Roman Catholic nun Sister Chichester says this, that in our time, death is king. The forests die for the sake of loggers. Great fish die for the sake of caviar. The fields die for the sake of fracking. The air dies for the sake of oil. Humanity dies for the sake of money. And people die for the want of food that all these things threatened. She goes on to say that humanity is so accustomed to destruction in the name of progress that we are on the brink of commercializing seed, of politicizing seed, of monopolizing seed, of genetically modifying seeds for the sake of someone else's control of creation, for making seed the new military weapon of the 21st century. In short, we value the money we can make today more than we value the life that is meant to come. But the fact of the matter is that we are all seeds too, all of us. We are either seeds of universal love or seeds of exploitation and racism. We are either seeds of hope or seeds of despair. We are either seeds of a new humanity or seeds of humanity's decay. So in short, we have a choice, a conscious choice that depends on what we see in seeds and how we treat them or not. Here are some things to remember about seeds. The day you plant your seed is not the day you eat the fruit. When you're in a dark place, you sometimes tend to think you've been buried. Perhaps you've been planted. I know you may dream of flowers, but first you must plant the seeds. And then there's the old Mexican proverb, they tried to bury us, but they didn't know that we were seeds. We are the seeds of our own life to come and the life of the planet as well. And the seed is everything that is. May it always be so. Amen, and blessed be. Our closing hymn for this service is hymn number 207, Earth Was Given as a Garden. Hymn number 207. And now, may love hallow every home and every heart. May the light of truth shine bright among us and bless you with wisdom and strength and peace. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon.